Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a little bit. Feels like a month or two. It's probably been a month. I've been a little sidetracked with things in life and also the things like BRO and the BCS and Rosemont that just happened. I was a little unmotivated to do content for a bit because, I was just kind of moping about Zorga not performing well because I kept breaking for a couple games. So, I've been trying to focus on other things and getting things together. But now that I got some time, I feel a little more motivated. Uh, can get back to making some content. Set 11 dropped. There's a lot of fun decks in here, so I wanted to cover some of them uh, in the upcoming weeks. Anything else super important that I have to? I'll talk more about the BRO and the BCS when I show off what I've been working for on Zorga. And yeah, that's we'll just get straight to it. So this is Mythiarq. This is a new deck that came out for in set 11. It's not like a very super powerful deck, but it is a very steady deck, and uh, it's a lot of fun too. It's got very interesting gameplay loops. So first of all, we have the starter. This is the new best Stokia starter. There's no question about that. I mean, he's adorable. Look at him. It's like Penguin. Yeah, Penguin Meko. They all have really weird names. So we have Ladrani. So Ladrani has two abilities that are really good. So the first is when it's ridden over, you call it to your rear guard. So it's a free body on board. You're normally going to put it in your pocket, either the left or the right. And the reason we're doing that is because of its second ability, which is when you are at grade 3 or greater, if your unit was placed by a card's ability this turn, whatever's in front of it gets +5. So it's kind of nice. You basically turn your 10k beaters into 15 or 13k beaters into 18 for literally just how the deck functions. Um, Next up, this is I think it's Lava Mantra, Luther Manta. Sorry. So same ability as the first one. When you ride over it, you call it from soul to your rear guard, which is pretty cool. And then the other ability, which is kind of interesting, you can soul charge one on place, and if you have I think it's three or more Mythiarq units, one of your opponent's rear guards cannot intercept until the end of the turn. So it's kind of got like that Mega Colony like stun aspect to it. And the last one is Luruthzul, right? Luruthzul. They all have really weird names. I've been trying to figure out how to say most of them for a bit now, and it's just it's the boss. So she has two really good abilities. The first is on place. You look at your top 7, and you're gonna call one to the field. And if you have 5 or more units, so including herself, your opponent has to discard a card. It's kind of nice. It starts, showing your opponent that you guys are going to be a little bit of a grind game because you're going to be chipping away their hand resources. And its second ability is on swing. You can counterblast one and bounce one of your Mythiarq rearguards to your hand, and then call a Mythiarq with a different name from hand to the same spot. So it's a 4 attack deck. That's pretty cool. The only issue with this card, uh, and I guess kind of the deck in general, is you have to have pretty much a full board to capitalize on this, and you have to pretty much play a lot of Mythiarchs. So we even have to play extras of these when realistically, like, this is probably the one I really wanted to play more of, but this one's like, well, I have to play it, so, you know, we'll make do with that. So that was it for the ride deck. Going on to the main deck, starting with the grade 3s, we obviously play 3 more copies of the main grade 3 because Persona Ride is very good. Um, and it's also really nice because you can, on your first turn riding this, you can look at your top 7, and if you find her, you can call it and then bounce it back to your hand, call something different. You have Persona Ride guaranteed for next turn. If you had any revivals, that would also be a very good target because you can always just bounce it back and technically have infinite Persona Rides, which is really good. Now this one is Apernil, Mythiarq Apernil. So this one has a really interesting ability where if you have 3 or more Mythiarq rear guards, You can counterblast one, draw a card, and she'll get +5. So very cool ability. Basically, with one of the grade 2s, or even off of this ability, you can just do this like a decent bit of times to just build up your hand, which is really cool. And yeah, it's one of the best beaters in the deck. Um, in terms of grade 3s, I don't play the Regalis piece because I just don't have room for it. If you find room where you want to put the Persona Ride one in there, I would say go for it, but otherwise I think this works pretty well. Moving on to the grade 2s, there's a little bit of grade 2s. So we have, he's the giraffe, Mythiarq Millium. So this is one of the more interesting cards of the deck in general. So when he's placed, if you have 3 or more Mythiarq rearguards, +5, and then you can Soul Blast one, and one of your opponent's rearguards can't stand during the next turn. So it's just a really cool ability because, like, I don't know, between things like Obfuscate, if people still play Obfuscate, or your opponent's like really good cards, you can just be like, hey, like that's not restanding during your next stand phase. You're gonna have to call something over it. Um, it's kind of nice for the second ability too, which is you can bind a rear guard and then call it back. So pretty much his second ability, you have to be a grade 3 for that, by the way. His second ability is kind of like a flicker effect. So you're pretty much like, especially like with this guy, like you'll call him to board, counterblast one, draw a card, use this card's ability, bind it, call it back to the same rear guard, use the skill again to draw an extra card. It helps you fill up the hand. This is probably the best card in the deck. It kind of sucks when you don't see it. I play 2 more of the Luruthzul Manta. I don't really like the card that much. Like I said, once you see one, you've seen enough. But you have to have Mythiarq named, so I play 2 copies of it just so I can see it. The soul never hurts because it helps for this guy, but like I said, you really don't need the soul, or you don't need the this card too much. Besides the one in the ride deck. And the last grade 2 I have, this is, oh my gosh, it's Margaret. So Margaret's a really good card. It was a cycle card in set 10. And basically, when you discard it during your ride phase, you can Soul Blast one to put her on the bottom of the deck and draw a card. So you're not really losing out from your hand, which is really nice. And the other ability is, if you Persona Road, you can Counterblast one. This turn, your opponent can't intercept, and their front row cannot stand. So this is the kind of theme of the deck, which you can pretty much see with the grade 2s, is we're all kind of, we're trying to stun the opponent, and then obviously the Luruthzul is going to make them discard cards. So you just kind of put them on this like slow down game pace of hey, you chill out. We're just gonna like take this at a slow pace, and hopefully I'm going to outgrind you. It's a very interesting deck, very Mega Colony-esque, but not bug. So moving on to the grade 1s, I play 2 copies of this. This card is definitely the Ladrona. This is obviously better than the grade 2 from the ride line, but the reason we only play a couple copies of it is realistically, if you see 1, that's pretty good, and if you see 2, that's optimal. You don't need to see the third one. If you do see the third one, it's pretty nice. But we have, man, Urstera, the Cool Bunny. So the Cool Bunny is kind of like the last one that you always want in your back row, because if you have 3 or more face down damage and you have enough Mythiarqs, if you didn't countercharge, you're going to countercharge. So this will let you keep doing your counterblast to draw and keep letting you do your Vanguard skill, which is very nice. So you don't need 4 because it's just kind of a brick, honestly. Like once you see the 1, you're like, oh, this is pretty solid. And your Vanguard can check top 7 to find it for you if you do not already have it. So 3 is the kind of like optimal ratio, and then 2 of this, obviously. If you wanted to play another one, you could. I just don't see the point to doing it. And then on to the generic part, the perfect guards. So the perfect guards are pretty, and the Margarets are the only really generic cards we play, because again, you want to fill up on the Mythiarqs. So and also you kind of have to play perfect guards. I don't play the order one just because a lot of decks are a lot stronger than this right now. So like, if you're low on hand, you can just be like, hey, free perfect guard, sorry. Uh, Also, the order perfect card is kind of expensive. Last card I play is the Mythiarq Habitat. Now, this card has really good synergy with the deck. It has the ability when you play it, you can check the top 7 and call something that's a grade less than or equal to your Vanguard uh, to the rear guard, and then shuffle your deck. So it's a free. It's kind of like the main boss, which is really cool. But it has an interesting second ability, which they kind of go together. So in your deck, if you could pick a unit card, like, or if a card would be selected, you can pick this too. So if you ride this, you can look at top 7, and if you find this, you can call this to your rear guard. And its other abilities, when it'd be called to the rear guard from your deck, you just put it back to your hand. So you, even if you find, like, you look through your top 7 off of the main grade 3 and you're like, I did not find anything, or if you didn't find anything useful off of here, if you found another copy of this, you can just be like, well, I'm deck thinning one, saving for next turn. Now I don't have to call like a trigger or a perfect guard, which is really nice. This isn't super mandatory for the deck because I know this card's expensive right now. Um, I just think that since I have it, I'm going to run it. But if you're looking for something different to put in the place of this, I would say In the Dim Darkness Frozen Resentment is really good because of the fact that you can pretty much start, you can do something a little different, which is looping your Persona Ride targets, which is always really nice. Um, so yeah, that's the ideology with it. I've been preferring this, but if you're like, hey man, I can't afford like $10, $15 copies of Habitat, just do the cheaper ones. Even Spiritual Body Condensation works for it just fine. Going on to triggers, we have an over trigger. I like this one a little better than the red over trigger because having 5 attacks is cute, but realistically making sure that your board feels very like well-rounded is a lot better for this deck. And also it gives a crit, it can heal damage, it draws you cards. I don't see what isn't to like about it. Because we do kind of draw a bit, we play 8 crit, and then we have the 3 draw triggers, the effect draws, and we have the 4 heals. If you don't have the effect crits, I don't think it really matters. There hasn't been a situation where I've wanted to call her from hand to field, so you could just use like the normal ones, but uh, I have this very like horrible fear of getting paired up against the prison players, so I'm like, you know what, have this just in case, because you can tuck it to soul, call it back later. It's just the Brantgate Nation always tries to screw me over somehow, so I gotta do what I can to play against it. So that's it for this deck profile. It's nothing crazy. It's a really fun deck, though. If you're looking for something that's not Willista or Gandiva to try out this meta, I highly recommend it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I've got more content that's coming out, hopefully this week, and then we're gonna be back on track. You know, we're gonna be on track for a decent while. All right, guys. Well, you have a good day, and I'll catch you later.